That's my name up there. Hi, I'm Sarah Jeong, and I'm a journalist by trade, but I wasn't always a journalist. I actually started out as a human infant. And from there, I went on to become a small child, and eventually I pivoted to surly teenager. From surly teenager, I transitioned to an asshole college student, and long story short, like many asshole college students who do really well in school and are euphemistically labeled as argumentative, I went to law school. This was not my first choice in life. I had always wanted to be a writer, to learn things I had never known, to tell stories, to show people new ways of thinking about the world. But I didn't think I could hack it as a writer. So I decided to become a lawyer instead. As you can see, I'm smiling in this photo. It's because I'm skipping class. There aren't a lot of photos of me smiling during this period in my life. I hated it. And as I grew to know the legal profession better, I hated the idea of going into the legal profession. And meanwhile, a funny thing happened. I wrote something while I was in law school. It did really well. People really liked it. People I liked and respected. My role models told me to keep on writing, said I was good at it. Editors started contacting me and commissioning me, and they seemed to want to pay me. I had never connected with any kind of work the way I had connected with writing. So I fled the slowly collapsing market for legal jobs and instead entered the much more swiftly collapsing market for journalism jobs. Because of my legal background, I write a lot about law, specifically law and technology. I write about copyright. I write about the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Federal Trade Commission, and how these things affect software, music, security, encryption, and robots. In a way, it's kind of similar to the academic work I was doing before. You take a question, you answer it as best as you can, then you turn around and you try to explain it to other people. So it's really similar to what I was doing in law school. Really similar. Anyways, this is a talk about ads and ad blocking. And right off the bat, I'm going to say that I don't work the business side of things. This isn't a talk about my personal experience dealing with ad networks or running a publishing business. When it comes to my personal experience with journalism as a business, this is the totality of how I interact with the advertising side of things. I publish a piece, and then the publication pays me. And somewhere between these two steps, people are clicking on links to my articles. Ad networks are serving them ads. I guess this happens. And maybe these ads are running next to my 2,000-word report on the troubling legal precedent that will affect the future of encryption on smartphones. But more realistically, it's my article about sexting. When people see the ads, the ad networks pay the publication then pays me. And when people use ad blockers, those clicks mean less, the ad networks pay less, the publication has less of a budget to pay me, and your ad blocker takes food out of my mouth. Please don't turn off your ad blocker. Outside of the media industry, the position that ad blockers are good is very uncontroversial. But inside the media, I think I have some compelling arguments as to why ad blockers are a good thing. But it makes me nervous to stand here and make that statement in a place where editors I work with are going to find out I said this. And the thing is that the effect that ad blocking has on the industry is real, palpable. You can see it. This is a chart of the revenues of the New York Times. People read that. People actually read the New York Times, but look at what's happening to their revenue. Just as a show of hands, who was here at the last XOXO and saw Mallory Ortberg's talk? Yeah, she's amazing, right? Amazing writer, lots of people read her. Lots of people loved her site that she co-founded with Nicole Cliff, The Toast. And the epilogue to that is the Toast shut down this year. And part of that was declining ad revenues. The Toast is no longer in business. This is by Nicole Cliff. Ad block is killing us. Everyone has a secret stash of money or doesn't pay their bills, and it is not getting better. The Toast was really important. I am really sad that it's gone. The writing they gave a home to was diverse, funny, engaging, bookish, interesting, and often from new and emerging writers who couldn't be published elsewhere. When ad revenue drops, there's less and less possibility for good writing, and we are never going to know what didn't get written because the Toast is no longer with us. And it might be because I didn't turn off my goddamn ad blocker. But like I said, I cover tech and law as a beat, and one of my beats is computer security and privacy. And I don't have personal experience working with the advertising side of things, but this is something I know. Ads endanger you. For the most part, ads aren't inert images. They interact with your browser in a much more active way, oftentimes putting tracking cookies on your machine. For those of you who don't know, a cookie is a file that tags you like you're an endangered rhinoceros or a microchipped cat. Cookies will betray where you've been, what you've looked at. Advertisers are using cookies to identify you, your location, your interests. It's not like they're the NSA or anything, but they're just trying to sell you stuff. Although, as a digression, the NSA has been known to piggyback off of tracking cookies to spy on their targets. But even if you aren't Laura Poitras or Glenn Greenwald or Edward Snowden, surveillance is surveillance, and it's completely natural to object to it, whether it's being performed by nation-state actors or commercial entities for profit motives. And it's not just that. The next step is targeting women in abortion clinic lobbies to serve them anti-choice ads. Targeted advertising online is intrinsically a matter of surveillance, and where there is surveillance, power imbalances will be exploited in unethical ways. And to me, this here isn't just the vague tingling sensation of, wow, these tracking cookies are a creepy violation of privacy. This is morally reprehensible. And it doesn't stop there. So I've written for Forbes. They've treated me really well. They actually published my first book. And this isn't meant to bash on anyone there. This is just something that happened to them and happened to their readers. They accidentally hit their readers with malvertising, which is malware that's served up through an ad. A lot of media sites are using third-party services that act as intermediaries between the site and someone who wants to buy an ad. And some of those ads are designed to be malicious. I don't think that the service or Forbes are malicious people. There's definitely a malicious person somewhere designing the ad so that they can infect you. But, the media industry is unwittingly allowing evil to befall their readers. And as someone who does security journalism, as someone who wants my readers to practice better security for industry and government to promote a consumer-friendly technological ecosystem, I just can't tell people to turn off their ad blockers. I can't. And I'm not even going to get into how gross ads are a lot of the time. Okay, I'm going to get into it a little bit. This is my favorite ad that ran on the Toast. This may really surprise you, but I am not looking for Asian beauties right now. Okay, but that's just poor targeting, right? But the good targeting isn't much better. The moment an ad network finds out that I'm a woman, I'm barraged with ads for diet pills, tooth whitening, plastic surgery, and there's nothing wrong with any of those things. I just don't like being flooded with messages aimed to exploit culturally conditioned feelings of inadequacy and low self-worth. It's not something I want to experience, and it turns out, it's not something my readers want to experience, and it's horrible for me to demand that they do so. And I should add, the Toast worked to immediately remove this ad from their pages as soon as a reader pointed them out, so good actors. So the ad blocking crisis is a problem that the entire industry is grappling with. And it's not as though the whole biz is just flailing around, slowly sinking into the ocean. It does sometimes feel like that, but that's not the case. Everyone's trying different things. They're trying paywalls and subscription models. That whole 20 free articles a month thing that forces you to open an incognito window towards the end of your month. The donate and you won't see any ads model. And then of course the ad blocker, which I think is an intrinsically doomed effort, but I'm not going to get into that because I am supposed to give a 20-minute talk. Anyways, I want to talk a little bit about the Brave browser. I'm not associated with Brave in any way. I don't have a stake in them. The reason why I am talking about them will be clear in a moment. What the Brave browser does is that it's a browser with a built-in ad blocker, and that's not very interesting by itself. What it does is that instead of just disappearing the ads, it superimposes whitelisted ads on top of the ads you normally see. And these are ads, according to Brave, that are safe, no tracking, no malvertising, good ads instead of bad ads. And Brave makes money off of these good ads. Brave then sets aside that revenue for the publishers of those websites. So the money that comes from a good ad that's slapped on top of the New York Times website is set aside for the New York Times. The catch, though, is Brave is, of course, skimming a percentage off the take. Like, duh, that's how capitalism works. But the publishers hate this. I mean, they hate what Brave is doing, not that they hate capitalism. So in April of this year, the Newspaper Association of America sent this cease and desist to Brave. I love this letter. It's one of the most hilarious things I've ever read. But my sense of humor is considered to be fairly eccentric. But since I get the stage, I'm going to read my favorite paragraph aloud to you guys, and you have to listen. Sorry, I'm going to do a Marco Rubio here. Your plan to use our content to sell your advertising is indistinguishable from a plan to steal our content to publish on your website. Your public statements demonstrate clearly that you intend to harness and exploit the content of all the publishers on the web to sell your own advertising. Yada, yada, yada. Let's get to the good part. There's a simple reason no one else is purporting to provide all the content on the web in one place for its own profit, without investing a penny in creating that content. Everyone else has recognized that it would be blatantly illegal for one company to hijack all the content on the web for its own benefit. I'm sorry, I don't know how that got here. I'm really bad at computers, but let's move on with this talk. So to me, this paragraph is an implicit restatement of how the industry feels about ad blocking. That removing advertising is stealing content. And in a way that makes sense, right? Like if ad blocking is forcing down revenue, then yeah, it's stealing money from us. But I don't know, I find it kind of weird to equate theft with like fast forwarding through the ads at the beginning of a VHS rental or muting the television during the advertisements. I don't know if just because I wrote something that someone wants to click, I now have a property interest in their eyeballs. I mean, actually, I do know. I don't, legally speaking. But to that point, I want to shift from talking about Brave, this brand new browser, to talking about a browser plugin from the late 90s. It was called All Advantage. I mean, are there people here who used it? Wow. I was a baby. The idea was that All Advantage would serve you advertisements, track your activity online, and gather valuable marketing data that they could monetize. So in a way, it sounds like the entirety of the web in 2016. But there's a key difference. All Advantage sent a check to their users every month. All Advantage shut down during the first .com bust, which means I don't think that it wasn't a viable business model. Like asking people like, hey, do you want to look at ads? And then they look at ads and they go, all right, thank you, here's a check. I think that they failed because it was just the network effect of the bubble bursting. Of course, how would I know? How would any of us know? But that said, I don't think we're going to see All Advantage in this era. Like, we're not going to see that replicated just because, look at this letter that got sent to Brave. This is the predominant attitude now. Pay me for what you're looking at. The assumption of digital journalism is that eyeballs are an encroachment, a trespass that has to be paid for, usually by looking at advertisements. The assumption is that because you clicked through and read, we have a right to your eyeballs. All Advantage assumed the opposite, that a user's attention is valuable rather than costly, that users can be paid for their willingness to look at something. And you might say, no, actually they're the same. They're just monetizing users through advertisements. It's just that in one case, the check goes to the user. And in the other case, the check bypasses the user and goes straight to the publisher with the assumption that the user has earned the advertising dollar and has automatically passed it on. And yeah, you're kind of right. The underlying economic premise is the same. But I still think that these are opposite attitudes because one model gives users autonomy, agency, and choice, and the other treats users like a metric, like a token that you can trade in for a paycheck. And when these tokens, these inert numbers, these faceless clicks, start installing ad blockers, my industry becomes utterly enraged. And I think that's awful. I don't want to accept the system. I want to respect my audience. I want my readers to be safe and secure and in full possession of their agency and choice. I want to treat my readers like people. So earlier this year, Oracle and Google faced off in a second trial over software copyright and the Android platform, and you have no idea how excited I was about this. This trial was like, this is very revealing about myself and how hard I find it to connect with people. But it was like, this was the big ultimate super collision of all my interests. Eric Schmidt testified, Larry Page testified. They got Larry Ellison playing on tape in front of the jury. I was over the moon. These two mega corporations had hired some really top-notch, high-billing lawyers, and watching two really good lawyers face off against each other in court is like my favorite thing in the world. My favorite thing after software copyright. So I wanted very badly to witness this trial from start to finish. The problem was that this 2-3 week long trial would produce maybe like 3 or 4 articles tops. And from a job standpoint, I couldn't actually afford to sit in a courtroom all day. It's really tiring, and I had to go outside and report other stories because that's what the job demanded. There's only been 2 instances in my life where I've been paid to sit through an entire trial. The first, besides Oracle v. Google, was a package deal that I struck with Forbes about a year ago. So I went through an institution, and this was to cover the Silk Road trial in New York. I don't know if you guys followed that, but it was the government was prosecuting an internet drug kingpin. So that trial had everything. It had drugs, it had encryption, the dark web, like a kingpin, chat logs, a diary, a murder fright. It was amazing, right? But I could sell that. And in contrast, Oracle v. Google is a freaking case about software copyright. I'm going to tell my editor, yeah, these 37 Java APIs are definitely going to produce a lot of courtroom drama. I wasn't going to sell that. So I resigned myself to being able to see the trial at the start and the finish, and also to losing a few thousand Twitter followers for constantly tweeting about the copyrightability of Java application programming interfaces. But a ridiculous thing actually happened. I didn't lose any followers. I actually started picking up followers. And people were hanging on to every tweet, freaking out about every twist and turn that I documented via Twitter. And when I joked about eating Chipotle, people started sending me a bunch of Chipotle gift certificates, thanking me for my work. And for some reason, I still do not comprehend. There were a lot of people who were really interested in a software copyright case about the copyrightability of 37 Java APIs in the Android platform. I don't know what your guys' problem is. The response was, I did something kind of weird. I decided, you know, why don't I put up a PayPal link and see how long I can sit here and cover this trial. It's not something that I would normally do, and it's something that I felt really weird about. But the response was really staggering. People thought that me sitting there tweeting out a running commentary on what was happening was a valuable service, and they were willing to tip me for it. There were some small donations, but there were also people who were giving me like $50, $100, and people were even turning it into a game, just like one-upping each other. I was just trying to make up for the lost time I'd spent sitting inside a federal courthouse, and also the BART fare going back and forth. But what ended up happening was I actually made enough money to take a short vacation and start writing a book proposal. So if you helped make that happen, like, it actually meant a lot to me. And I ended up reporting the entirety of the trial via Twitter, and I broke the news of the verdict as it was read aloud in court. Spoiler, Google wins. The point of me telling you about this isn't that I think this is the future of journalism. Like, this is not. The circumstances around me reporting Oracle v. Google are deeply unusual. For one thing, the Northern District of California, where this trial took place, is one of the few jurisdictions in the entire country that allows devices into the courtroom, let alone also have an open Wi-Fi network. Yeah, they love freedom of the press over there. And the niche audience of developers that care about software copyright is much more likely to be on Twitter and to have disposable income and to feel kindly towards giving it to someone who's tweeting about software copyright. And these are a lot of variables I have no control over. So I am not prophesying a future of radically deaggregated journalism stripped of institutions and publications and advertising. I think institutions are really important in bringing up and bringing together journalists. And I have a great fondness for the institutions that I work with and have worked with. And I also find it very hard to imagine an internet that doesn't run on, in some shape or form, advertising. I mean, it's not limited to journalism, right? It's almost all of the web we know today. And I'd like the situation to be better than what we have right now. But I don't envision a revolution, and I just don't have any answers. I am telling you the story at XOXO about covering Oracle v. Google, not because I think this is the future of my work. I'm telling you this because even if live tweeting Oracle v. Google isn't the future of journalism, it's something that gave me hope in the future of journalism. My readers aren't out to bilk me for my content or rob me of advertising dollars. They don't want a free ride off my work. My readers want me to live and to thrive and to eat Chipotle burritos and to keep doing the things I love doing. And as long as that's the case, I know that I'm not doomed, and that we're not doomed, and that I am going to keep on doing what I'm doing. So thank you.